Kogbold Steamworks has only been in the game for about 7 months, but Deca has already decided to release a new advanced version of the dungeon. The Advanced Kogbold Steamworks is the first of many dungeon difficulties that we'll be seeing throughout the coming months as we build up to the realm rework. It's basically a way for Deca to create content without actually creating any content, which is understandable since most of the resources that they're putting into the game right now are being used on the realm rework, which will fundamentally change the game, but we're not going to see that for a long time. So until then, Deca has to do something, so might as well have this repeated content that's also kind of not repeated content. Since the scope isn't very big, it doesn't warrant a full guide since I already made a Kogbold Steamworks guide, but I will go over all the new behaviors in the dungeon so that you can be prepared for whatever it has to throw at you. So first off, there's a 15% health modifier and a 25% damage modifier across the entire dungeon. That means everything's going to be a little bit harder to kill, and it's also going to hurt a lot more. However, you will get 90% more experience and battle pass experience from everything, which is a pretty considerable boost, especially considering there are dungeon modifiers that could further boost that. Most of the enemies also have new behaviors that will make them more fresh and threatening. The high visibility Kogbold, fortunately, has no behavior changes, but the Kogbold Welder will occasionally switch from its usual cluster fire to just a single shot that does more damage and inflicts bleed, but it's actually a little less dangerous than the Kogbold Welder's usual attack. So aside from the damage increase, you could say the enemy is a bit easier now. The Kogbold Plumber has a minor change. The quiet AoE is larger, but also easier to see. The Kogbold Supervisor will occasionally stop and fire a large amount of shots around it. It's not that threatening. The Kogbold Supervisor was never really that threatening to begin with. The Kogbold Drone on exploding will leave a fire behind that can deal a lot of damage if you're not careful, similar to the fires from the Kogbold Flying Machine, but these ones look a bit different and also fire projectiles at you. The Kogbold Worker, while below half health, will occasionally stop and go invulnerable to fire a bunch of the drills that it fires normally when it's about to die. So that'll stun you and confuse you, very dangerous, that it could come out at any time below half health. The Kogbold Battlesmith will, while chasing, fire rotating bursts of blue and orange shots. The Kogbold Overseer will continue to assist the larger Kogbolds like it normally does, but now it has 2 smaller Kogbold Overseers that will trail behind it, and you'll have to kill those before you can defeat the main Overseer. Kogbold Steamwalkers, when they jump, will do 3 bursts of orange shots before they do their usual spray of projectiles. And the Steam Serpent has, fortunately, no behavior changes. The turrets in the dungeon also got a makeover. In the regular Steamworks, they're all killable. That was not the case when I made my dungeon guide, if you're coming from that. However, in the hard mode version, the laser turrets will respawn about 10 seconds after you killed them, so you're going to need to watch out when you're passing through any room that has lasers. There's only 2 rooms that have lasers, though. There's also 1 new turret. It can spawn anywhere in any of the rooms and even sometimes the hallways. It just shoots at the nearest player with a shotgun of 3 shots that do a considerable amount of damage, but it's not too bad. You can rotate around it and kill it. The Kogbold Flying Machine, despite having no behavior changes, will have a new arena that has a lot of heat tiles, which will either consume the middle of the arena or the outer edge of the arena. This normally isn't too much of an issue, but if the boss does decide to chase you while the arena is small, you could be in for some trouble. It is possible to dodge it, but it's very scary, and if you're in a group, it might be bad. So maybe in your best interest to just give up if it decides to do this, if you don't know what you're doing. But if you do know what you're doing, you could stay in. It's probably not worth it though. The loot is... We'll get to the loot later, actually. The Factory Control Core, the big boss, has no behavior changes. There is, however, 1 new phase at the end, and this is a survival phase. It's quite complex. This is one of the longest survival phases in the game, lasting at almost an entire minute. However, unlike other survival phases, it changes numerous times throughout the attack, and so I'll divide it into segments. I'll say there's 4 segments to this. Throughout the phase, the boss will be in the middle, firing novas of shots all around it. This attack pattern continues throughout the entire phase. All of the segments use this pattern. However, these shots that it does fire will change throughout the fight. At the start, they're blue and they do relatively inconsequential amounts of damage. All around the arena, crushers will be randomly crushing like they do, and you'll need to dodge those as well as the shots from the boss. This is the easiest part of the attack. As long as you have good reaction speed, this should never be an issue for you. If you don't have good reaction speed, the shots from the boss are much less threatening than the crushers. So prioritize dodging the crusher shots over the shots from the boss. If you need to take a shot or two from the boss, don't worry too much about it. After that, the arena will be divided into a bunch of conveyors. I usually go on the one below the boss, but you may find that the corners are easier since those are farther from the boss. The spread from the boss's shots will be further apart. For this attack, the shots of the boss will turn orange and be a little bit more threatening. There will also be a crusher in the middle of the conveyor that crushes every now and then. So your best bet is to stay along the bottom of the conveyor away from the boss and avoid the crusher completely while also dodging the shots from the boss, which are not too bad. The crusher will crush 3 times before disappearing and being replaced by a drone. This drone will rotate around the conveyor, firing shots toward the middle. You can rotate with it, but this is very difficult. You can also try to weave through its shots. This is the most dangerous segment in the fight, so if you don't get it right, don't worry about tanking a few shots. I actually dodged pretty well here for the first half, but after that is also pretty difficult. The arena will shrink and there'll be more heat tiles. Don't worry too much about going to the middle immediately. You have a considerable amount of time before the heat tiles start damaging you. However, once you go to the middle and the heat tiles convert, the boss will start firing lasers, as well as the shots from the boss turning red and being as powerful as they'll get. The lasers have much more generous hitboxes than they used to, so you can get relatively close to them. Still, I wouldn't push your luck, as if you do run into the lasers, it's pretty much instant death, especially if you took a lot of damage from previous segments. The lasers will limit your dodging space for the boss's shots, and sometimes you might find that it's impossible to dodge something. If that happens, just don't be afraid to take a shot. It's much less punishing than running into a laser while trying to dodge. After only 5 laser blasts, the phase will be over, the boss will explode like it does in the regular dungeon, and it will drop all of your loot, which is 30% more loot than the regular Steamworks, plus the 90% experience over regular Steamworks, as well as a second bag, similar to hard mode shatters. You get 2 bags. You also get a new dungeon mark. It's just an advanced mark of the control core, which can be turned in at the Tinkerer for an Advanced Kogbold Steamworks quest. So it's the same as the regular Steamworks quest, except with the advanced marks, and you get 2 epic quest chests instead of the usual 1. You'll also be able to get an exclusive drop, a Kogbold Engravings chest. This allows you to choose 1 of 4 Kogbold Steamworks engravings. The Gatling shots and heavy hitter can be applied to weapons. That's Avarice, Divinity, Enforcer, Bow of the Void, Steam Pipe, and Laser Pointer. The heavy hitter will reduce your shot speed, but increase your damage, and the Gatling shots will increase your shot speed, but decrease your damage. So these are pretty questionable how much of an upgrade they are. You could use them, but engravings can't be removed when you apply them, so make sure you do your research before applying these, as if you apply them and then you don't like them, you're stuck with them. However, the Iron Plating and Kogbold Spirit are direct upgrades. The Iron Plating will add 5 defense and a healing effect to either Diplomatic Robe, Vest of Abandoned Shadows, or Gladiator Guard. And then the Kogbold Spirit is even more free. It adds 3 defense and 25 health only to the Overclocking Amulet. So if you get a Kogbold Spirit, feel free to apply it to an Overclocking Amulet. It can't go on anything else. That's probably my favorite of all of these. And that's the Advanced Kogbold Steamworks. It's pretty simple. If you're wondering about other things in Steamworks, there's a full guide on the regular Steamworks. That combined with this should pretty well explain all the behaviors and things you'll need to worry about. The dungeon clear isn't much different, it's about the same, although the Kogbold Overseers are much more dangerous and everything does a lot of damage and has more health. The Kogbold Flying Machine is actually a major issue, since the arena is so much more dangerous. You're going to want to kill it as fast as you possibly can to avoid the chance of getting the chase attack in the small arena. And the boss is exactly the same except for damage increases, which could be dangerous if you're not good at the regular fight, but if you are good at the regular fight, you only have to worry about that finale, which isn't too dangerous of a finale compared to other finales. It's relatively structured and more consistent than you're used to with survival phases such as Patience or whatever's going on in Moonlight Village. But until next time, this has been Cat Jones, reminding you to play hard and stay safe, and hopefully you won't have to wait 2 months for the next video.